Welcome to Music Theory Basics. Today we will be looking at how to play any natural minor scale. There are many different types of scale. We have major scales, which we looked at in the last video. Be sure to check that video out before watching the rest of this one. We also have natural minors, which is what we'll visit today. We can have harmonic minors, melodic minors, and chromatic scales, as well as many more. So today, we'll be looking at the natural minor scale. But first, let's remind ourselves of semitones and tones. So here we have a middle C, and a semitone above this will be C sharp. A semitone is where we have two notes with nothing in the middle, no note in the middle. If we move that C sharp to a D, we now have a tone. A tone is where we do have a note in the middle. So in the middle of C and D, we have the C sharp, and that's why this is a tone. This is really important to remember because a scale is simply a pattern of tones and semitones. Remember that major scale? Our pattern was tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And you can see this on the piano. Let's write that scale out. There we have our C major scale. Remember to check out that video on how to play any major scale before watching the rest of this video. Now let's look at our natural minor scales. One way of working this out is to flatten the third, then flatten the sixth, and then flatten the seventh. And there we have turned our C major scale into a C natural minor scale. The pattern for the natural minor scales goes tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. But we can actually use the circle of fifths to help us work out our natural minor scales. On the outside edge of this circle, we have our major scales. But in the middle, we can add in our minor scales. So as you can see here, C major's relative minor is A minor. Now these two scales will share the same key signature. So we know that A minor has no sharps or flats, the same as C major. So here we have our C major written on the piano. And now, if we play the same scale but start on an A, we now have the A natural minor. And you can see this has the same pattern as the scale we looked at earlier. It goes tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. Let's look at a couple of examples. Example 1. We're going to write out the scale of D natural minor. So let's look at the circle of fifths. Can you find D minor on the circle of fifths? There it is. And you can clearly see it is the relative minor of F major. This means that D minor has a B flat the same as F major. So let's write it out on the piano. There we go. This is D natural minor. You can clearly see the pattern: tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. And let's write it out on the stave as well. So there we have our D natural minor. Let's do another example. We're going to see how we can convert E major into E natural minor. So this is a slightly different method to using the circle of fifths. Here we go. I wonder if you can remember. We flatten the third. We then flatten the sixth. And we flatten the seventh. And there you have it, E natural minor. Let's write it out on the stave. But which is the best way to remember your minor scales? Personally, I think the circle of fifths is the best way to remember your minor scales. It helps you to understand all the different key signatures and how they relate to the major and the minor scales. If you're not clear on the circle of fifths, be sure to check out my website where I have lots of explanation videos on the circle of fifths. Now, to work out the relative minor to a major scale, you have to go to the sixth note. So for example, the sixth note of C major is A, meaning the relative minor of C major is A minor. The sixth note of G major is E, meaning the relative minor of G major is E minor. The sixth note of D major is B, meaning the relative minor is B minor. And the sixth note of A major is F sharp, meaning the relative minor of A major is F sharp minor. Make sure to get your hands on the cheat sheet. This will make this a lot clearer and will give you a reference. Thank you so much for visiting Music Theory Basics, and I hope that's given you a good understanding of natural minor scales. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.